Inmendham video. Yes, so it's economics. It's just going to be the inheritance thing. Kyle is wrong about Trump estate tax. Maximilien Robespierre, who I used to see some value in, but yes, he's wrong on the important issues he can't get right. So yes, he's a douche. Anyway, I don't know why I was subscribed to him as long as I have been, but anyway, especially since he just post a lot of these kind of tripey videos, picking the low fruit, so to speak. Some guy named Kyle, and this whole Maximilien Robespierre thing is kind of ambiguous and strange. Having as an icon some sort of douche who, got a lot of people's heads cut off in the French Revolution, and then had his own head cut off because of his own hypocrisy. So, but anyway. We'll play some of this slop and just point out he's heard my arguments before, and obviously he doesn't want to play with the real arguments, which is, inheritance is just exercising bigotry. It's no better than monarchy. It's completely anti-capitalism in the Adam Smith sense, in the sense that you break the invisible hand entirely by creating a mechanism that isn't doing what the invisible hand is supposed to do, which is weed out the weak and the useless and the ones who haven't earned it. The whole point of the invisible hand fixing things is that it's doing it based on earning, and inheritance isn't earning. It's as far away from earning as you can possibly get, in the sense that it doesn't have any standards of earn. Totally unproductive. And you argue, why would somebody be defending it logically? I'm supposed to think that this Robespierre guy would be for undoing the French Revolution and giving everything back to the aristos? I don't think there's any chance of that. He didn't get his head off. He had his head cut off because he was a lover of aristocrats, even though he dressed as one and was a lawyer. So what's the argument here? To pretend that his icon would have see some purpose in going back to monarchy is idiotic.
Oh, Kyle, why do you put me in a spot where I have to defend someone I don't like against someone I do?
Against somebody I do. Well, I don't know what that means, but anyway. Yeah. Somebody you don't like, for what reasons? I mean, why don't you like Rand Paul? This is Rand Paul's, like, besides his overt bigotry, this is his #1 subject. He's making the rich richer. Idiot.
In that sense, I agree with 90% of what Kyle has to say. But on this issue, he's completely wrong.
Yes, well, he means on some other issue, apparently, yes. And this isn't the top issue for most Republicans, is keeping all of the wealth, the biggest percentage of the wealth, in the hands of people who didn't earn it. Like they have some other agenda. No, that's exactly their agenda, idiot.
The estate tax is a tax on earnings.
No, it's not. So you can pretend it's a tax on earnings. No, it's a recognition that this is the price of civilization, so to speak. And there's no other way, in fact, to correct the inequities that happen in a system. So we all know what a monarchy is. We all know what stuff like monopolies are. And this is the simplest and easiest way to fix it, to stop it from being a cancer that kills the patient. This is the simplest and easiest way to prevent it from starting to grow and grow and grow and grow and become some horrible monster, like the Kennedy fortune or something. Look what that spawned.
Have already paid their taxes.
So again, you think the the tax code is the perfect code, the one we have in place now, which is like 50 or 60% lower in terms of the tax rates than it was in the 50s on the highest income earners. And so it's clearly not progressive as it was. So they clearly, in a sense, haven't paid their taxes on the earnings, quote unquote. But again, the real subject is what price is civilization? You think you can have a civilization where you allow people to accrue wealth, silos full of stuff, in an almost indestructible sense, in the sense that, let's say we fill those silos with stocks and bonds in the stock market. Now, until there's another 29 crash, there's no way you could lose. As long as you're diversified, you can't lose the money, you can only make money. So a little tiny bit of diversification, doesn't even take much diversification, 10 stocks, just holding 10 different stocks. There's statistically no pragmatically reasonable way. I mean, obviously you could pick the 10 worst stocks in the market that failed the most catastrophically. But I'm saying statistically 99.9999999, huge giant 9999 keeps going. You couldn't have possibly failed, and you would have made more money than inflation. So your wealth would have just increased. And there's nothing to stop that mechanism. Absolutely nothing except for the tax code. What would your solution to the problem be? Because it just creates emperors. That's what created the nation states of Great Britain with the king, and France, and all the other nations in Europe were all created by wealth consolidated. The countries were the king, and the king's assets and ownings, and what he claimed to own, what he purchased. And there was no end to that purchasing power. And you end up in the same condition in your civilization if you don't have some mechanism to stop it. So you would just let it happen. You would just say, fuck civilization, I like monarchy. You're an asshole.
In a sense, it is theft.
No, it's not theft. Nobody's going in saying, I'm going to take what those young little kids earned. They didn't earn any of it. So again, let's understand who we're taking it from. The guy who earned it is dead. It's called estate tax. Even if you call it the death tax. Let's understand. The guy who's claiming possession is dead. And we're talking about who has earned those assets. And that's the whole point of civilization, is to create rewards and punishments, or incentives and disincentives. And clearly, if you give the wealth of your nation to people who haven't earned it, that's not a constructive incentive. The whole point is to give it to the people who have earned it, have earned recognition. Let them purchase what this guy owned at a reasonable price, and let them see what they can do with it. And yes, let's take the money for the purchase and give it to the civilization, not to people who didn't earn it.
It doesn't matter who's earning the money.
Okay, so that's just as silly as it can be, right? There can't be a more rational concept in terms of reward and punishment than recognizing that there should be a relationship between who gets the money and who earned it. That would be the most logical. I mean, that's logically indestructive. And for you to just throw it out as a little one-liner and use cartoon images, you know, just shows what how desperate you are. You're not making a rational argument. You're making a cartoon argument. An argument from cartoon. And the cartoon that it doesn't matter, earn doesn't matter. Just put that as a title of the video. Why didn't you put that in the title of the video? Earning doesn't matter. That's what I believe. Earning is rubbish. Earning is nonsense. Earning has nothing to do with it. Earning should have nothing to do with it. Put that in the title. Have the balls to be honest about what you're saying, you idiot.
It doesn't matter, even if only one person in the whole country, in the whole state, that the estate tax is implemented, is paying it.
So again, it doesn't even matter. So he thinks that it doesn't matter how many people are, say, harmed in some horrible way by something. So it doesn't matter how many people, if there's only one person killed by a cure, or like I say, a vaccine. Let's say a vaccine cures some substantial disease like polio, or prevents it from harming thousands or hundreds of thousands, and one person dies. No, not worth it. You know, I mean, is that your rationale? It's not worth one single Not even one. Okay? So clearly we shouldn't be driving cars and shouldn't do this and shouldn't do any of these things because they all entail huge risks of somebody being harmed as a fact. And you don't think that any of that should be understood as sometimes you have to pay. And sometimes you have to pay a lot for something good.
It's wrong by principle.
All right, it's wrong by principle to think it should be about who earned it. That ownership of our civilization, ownership of the property of our civilization, the civilization men and women died in war to protect, those dead people don't have any right to say something like, look, I wasn't dying so the 15 rich people could own the country. That really wasn't my vision as I was going over there sticking my knife in people's throats. I really wasn't fighting for a king.
Because it's a tax on earnings that however that...
It's not a tax on earnings. So again, just keep missing. And by that standard, I mean, income is a little different than wealth. Wealth isn't taxed until you are dead. And that's the whole point. And again, it's the whole point of the mechanism. What is your alternative fix for monopoly, all the wealth condensing into the hands of a few rich people, which has happened? It's really easy to manipulate the system from the advantage, the high ground of wealth. And you can play the system and rape it from that position. So if you don't have some mechanism that means that the rapist dies and everything he's stolen goes back into the game, then you don't have a game. Because eventually it'll be just all the rapists on the top of the mountain. They'll have all the high ground and everybody else will have no power. You're an asshole.
Have already been bloody taxed.
Okay, so again, you're saying they've already been taxed because you have this narrow understanding of what taxes are for in the first place, and how that cost of infrastructure of having a civilization, paying for the defense, which yes, I would argue isn't much, it's an offense, not a defense, but regardless, and paying for all the infrastructure, and how those taxes should be apportioned. And you think that there should be some exemption from the wealth holders. You should never touch their wealth. You should only touch their income.
It's immoral.
Okay, it's immoral. It's immoral to prevent people who haven't earned it from taking possession of it. So it's immoral to recognize that the king should earn his crown. Not that he should inherit it, that he should earn it. And that we should crown people who have earned it. So you think it would be logical or moral to let the presidency be inherited. And it would be logical and moral to allow gold medals in the Olympics to be inherited. And it would be logical and immoral to to prevent. We should always let the Yankees have the World Series forever and ever and ever because they won it once, let's say. I don't know who won the last one here, but whatever. I mean, there's no example in any other... Can you show me a piece of any other thing in our social infrastructure that duplicates the morality, the bigotry of inheritance? Show me one other mechanism in our civilization, Hollywood, anywhere, go anywhere, and show me how it's overtly just inherited, no earning involved, and it's something socially accepted. Show me it, you idiot. You fucking idiot.
It's theft by the state.
It's theft. Well, it isn't theft. Okay? Again, recognizing that this is the price, it's like saying, oh, it's theft to build the Hoover Dam because some people are going to be displaced who don't want to be. That's theft. No, it's reasoning. And it's logic. And it's the fact is some people have to sacrifice for civilization more than other people end up sacrificing. And until you can prove that it's a deliberate effort to harm the inheritees, and it's not a deliberate effort to help civilization, until you can show the motivations, this is wrong. This is like dressing up the French revolutionaries in theft uniforms. That shows your fucking hypocrisy. You apparently don't think there should have been a French Revolution. It was theft. There were a bunch of thieves and thugs stealing from the entitled. How do you rationalize this stupid fucking name? How do you make this a rational channel, you fucking idiot? You really think this guy was for the aristos retaining ownership? You really think so? When he was killed for exactly the opposite reason, for being suspected of being on the take.
It doesn't matter if, for example, if I were to give my son a car, should I pay a state tax on that, or should?
Well, this is a concession made to your need to be a bigot. So it's like saying, how much are we going to allow the candy stealers? Okay, there's people who are compulsive, they can't help but steal from babies, let's say, because they don't understand it's wrong to treat one child different than another child. So you're too stupid to understand that you should reward all children based on some fair notion of what child earns it. Okay, what child is likely to do the most with the investment given them, the potential, get the most out of it. And so we make an indulgence as a society and say, okay, we know you're bigots. We know you can't handle this job of being thoughtful and logical, so you have to be a bigot. So you're going to, so yes, we'll let you steal the candy, but we're not going to let you steal the baby's dinner. So he doesn't understand this proportion argument that, yes, we'll give you $1 million worth of indulgences. You can give your kid a Harvard education. You can give your kid psychotherapy, and you can give him a sports trainer, and you can give him all kinds of advantages. All right? And the urban kid isn't going to get any of those advantages. Okay? If he wants to be a professional golfer, somehow he's going to have to learn how to do all of the stuff without ever being on a real course. And he's going to have to do it the hard way. And we say, okay, we're going to accept that because you're fucking bigots. And you think that child has to earn it more than this child over here because you're a fucking insufferable bigot. And then you're saying, well, why don't we do that? Why don't we just let that go all the way? Well, because we're not that stupid. We're saying you're a bigot, but we're not going to let you be an insane bigot. So we'll just let you be the common asswipe. All right? But we're not going to let you go to some level of insanity where you start handing over trillions of dollars of the fucking nation's wealth to fucking asswipes who didn't do a fucking thing to earn it. Like the presidency or something.
Did he pay a state tax on that? If I give him a factory that produces cars.
Yeah, well, like I said, it was already in the code, which is kind of a joke, right? We already had it in the tax code that you could give $4 million to your kids for free, no tax. That's always been in the code. That was never threatened by any of this conversation about any talk about estate tax. This is about estates far beyond $4 million worth of assets. Far, far beyond. Because even the tax rate on stuff over $4 billion was a progressively higher tax rate. So again, you weren't going to get totally slaughtered for even getting $10 million worth of free assets. Okay, so we let you have a huge fucking cheat, and that's not enough for you. You're such gluttons. You're such a selfish motherfucker. You're so fucking bigoted that you think you're entitled to the whole fucking thing. Ownership of the world. You psychotic piece of shit.
What is the difference? He's still earning something from me. Why should he have to pay?
He's still earning something from me. How did he earn it? If you demonstrated that, if you actually showed how your kid earned it, like you send your kid out and he wins the race, you take your kid and you say, hey, I invite a bunch of you urbanites and you other people, come here and defeat my kid. Show how you're smarter or you're something better than him. But you're not having a contest. You think Donald Trump would win an IQ test, or do you think he'd win? You think he'd win any kind of test if he had to compete against other random citizens? You really think so, you fucking cunt? You think he really earned it? And what was earning it by his daddy's standards anyway? Well, recognize being able to tell the difference between white people and them darkies. Fuck you, bigot.
Taxes on that. If the taxes have already been paid.
So again, if the taxes have already been paid, it's about financing, and there's different methods. I mean, obviously property taxes, lots of different kinds of ways of taxing in civilizations to pay bills. And some of them are grossly, in my opinion, regressive and destructive to us socially. And the one tax that can't be described as socially destructive is the estate tax. There's just no way it can be a bad thing. I mean, you obviously have no perspective. I mean, maybe you're just such an elitist. You know, maybe that's the world you grew up in. You know, of all these protected people with these safety nets and, you know, reckless slobs. But I don't know what you have, what kind of impression you have of the inheritance wealthy. But they're not like John Wayne, right? In the John Wayne movies, he was always the guy who earned it. You know, if he had 10 million acres and he was John Chisholm or something, he had earned it from the first little cow. All right? He didn't inherit it. There's never any great stories about the guy who inherited it. Those are always the shitty stories because they have no character. You know, because they wasted their education, they're lazy, they don't want to do any real hard work. They just want to be playboys and have fun, and that's the stereotype. And it's not an inaccurate stereotype. It is completely what you produce. They're not great human beings because they have had a safety net. They are reckless and sloppy because they never had to do it the hard way. They always did it the easy way. God, you're an asshole.
You know, if I earned money and bought the car, during the process I pay taxes. Why should I have to pay taxes again?
You're not. You're dead, right? So you still don't understand. It's the estate tax, motherfucker. The death tax. It means you're dead. And you're saying, I have a right to ensure my prodigy can have an unfair advantage. Okay, they didn't have to earn because you're nothing but a bigot. And that's all you're saying. I'm such a preposterous bigot. I don't want what I have earned to be distributed to people who have earned it. I just want it to be distributed to my kind. And that's all you're saying. And you've said it in this video. You say, what does earning have to do with it? You don't care about earning. You don't think earning should have something to do with it. You don't think deserve should have something to do with it. Deserve should be the only thing people with any kind of rational consciousness should think would be a really important thing to have in society. That if you have a correlation between what you get and deserve, that's going to be an incentive economy that's going to have people doing their best, not their worst. Deserve is a really important thing to tie to initiative. Get what you deserve. That would be an excellent society.
It's because I transfer the ownership to someone else.
Right, and again, this transfer right you're claiming is a transfer right for the civilization, for the ownership of the land, ownership of the commerce, ownership of copyrights, ownership of a bunch of assets that are part of the infrastructure. The money itself is made out of the people who have to be killed to make it valuable. It's covered in blood, the coal miner's blood, all of this blood. And you think that you have a right to take that blood money and distribute it without any conscience to social productivity. Not giving a shit about how socially productive your distribution will be.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it's the only thing that does make sense.
And we don't actually have it on low-cost items. So, for example, if I have an...
Again, because there's no need to. Again, the whole point, you keep drawing this thief. The French Revolution wasn't about inheriting fluffy shirts or gold watches. It was about holding ownership of the society and forcing everybody else to be a fucking renter and having to rent their life. That was what it was about, asshole. They didn't give a shit about the gold watches. But if you asked them, well, if you walked up to me and you said, look, I have a gold watch and I'm going to die soon, I want to give it to somebody, who should I give it to? I would say, first off, if it's not about the money and you think your kid loves you, and he's not going to sell the watch for its value, then yeah, it's a token. It's nothing. It's not going to go back into the economy anyway. So that's okay. There's no harm, no foul. That painting doesn't have to go back into the economy if it's not going to be used as a weapon against in the competition. If it's not going to be sold to create leverage, monetary leverage to outbid somebody on a house or do something else. Well, if it's not going to create leverage for that, then what's the harm? All right, and sentimental value stuff. But let's just say it's a real hard asset. And you ask the question, well, who should I give it to? You think if as a rational person I should say, oh yeah, your son is really cool. I mean, okay, he picks his nose a lot, and you know, he has a lot of other really nasty habits. But he's just so special that yes, you should give it to him. No, I'm probably going to see that your son's a piece of shit, and I'm going to say, well, why don't you incentivize? You know, why don't you say you're going to give the gold watch to the person who does the best week of community service or something? You know, create some little competition to earn it. Why wouldn't that be the productive thing to do, fuckhead?
Gold watch. I give it to my son. If he inherits this, he doesn't pay tax.
So again, it just this is so trivial. Like I said, such a cartoon. So the French Revolution was about you know, inheriting doorknobs or something. You know, and that the subject of the estate tax, we're talking about trillions of dollars of unearned ownership of our economy, and he trivializes it into some subject about gold, you know, doorknobs, a collection of doorknobs, my collection, my stamp collection.
On that. So why is it okay if it's a Rolex or something that's worth millions of dollars?
Well, it wasn't even that's not even a sensible comparison, right? Because I don't think there's too many Rolexes, except one's owned by John Kennedy or something, that are worth millions of dollars. So yeah, try again, silly person.
He has to pay tax on that.
He doesn't have to. That's the whole fucking point, you silly. You're a fucking liar now. I mean, you already know that he does. You don't pay taxes on the first $4 million, and now with the exemption, it's the first 11 million, I think. And they want to abolish it at all. Any tax at all is the subject. That was he played a clip here of this other douchebag talking about some Rand Paul interview or something about why this estate tax is so important when it only affects 5,000 of the richest people in the world. And here he is talking about, you know, doorknobs. Fuck you, liar.
No logical argument to support this.
Right, no logical argument in the sense that you're completely non-fact based. Nobody has had their $4 million Rolex estate taxed. So you're just lying. Bravo.
It's just a form of theft. Now, the Republicans will defend it because, well, basically their paymasters have told them to.
Oh, they're paymasters, he calls them. No, the people you're protecting. Yes, quite obviously. They're doing exactly what the people they're protecting for their advantage, because they want to be part of this unearned game. And you're defending the unearned game. You're one of them, asshole. And you're doing it in disguising yourself as some sort of person who actually was involved in something socially meritorious. And clearly put his own neck on the line. And, you know, he's paid his price. But anyway, we all pay a price. He was, you know, old enough. So it's time to go, probably.
And the Democrats will attack it because they're not going to lose votes over this.
They're not going to lose votes over this. Now that's also an insane kind of way of looking at it. Like they're not for the estate tax because they understand it to be socially productive. It's because they won't lose votes over it. No, the agenda is one of reason. There's lots of taxes out there. Which ones are the most onerous? Taxing work or taxing inheritance? Which one makes more sense? Oh, we can tax the workers, or we can tax those assholes who didn't earn a damn thing.
They don't gain anything from having it taken away or it in place. So,
well, that just, again, is completely illogical. I think they gain a huge advantage if they can find some way to finance their aggressive social programs without taxing workers. So there's a huge advantage to finding somebody else to tax. And if you can find 5,000 people to attack, well, yeah, that's really good. If it's only going to hurt 5,000 dorks like Donald Trump, win. And it's only hurting them in the sense it's not cutting their legs off. It's not, punching their eyes out. It's not hurting them in any real physical way. It's just forcing them to stay in the same game everybody else is playing. To not go into the boxing ring with brass knuckles. They actually have to face the other competitor without, brass knuckles and a metal suit and death rays that pop out of their glove, and they don't get to have any like adventures, magic trick powers. They have to actually earn it in a real fight. That's the horror you're imposing on them. Oh yeah, you live a life like everyone else has to live, where you actually have to earn. You have to squeak through and earn your existence. You have to play by the rules and not get arrested, and not do this and not do that, and also make enough to keep a roof over your head and function in some way. Yeah, like all the other grunts. Oh, what a horror. You force them to be a regular human. How horrible. I mean, fuck you.
They can basically use it as a stick to beat the Republicans with. But,
yeah, well, the fact that people can't get this, I mean, the fact that you're a dupe for them, for the aristos, defending fucking monarchy, essentially. There's no other way around it. There's no logical theory that demonstrates how somehow the inheritees will lose all their money and it'll go back into the system. And that that would be in some way productive for them to lose the money based on doing stupid things like Donald Trump building casinos nobody wants to go to, and then having to blow them up. Perfectly good building, got to blow it up because no one can afford to, keep it heated. So the huge waste in social investment, the huge waste in labor, and all the stuff invested in these silly crackhead ideas of these fucking loser rich people. And we all pay for that, fuckhead.
I don't care. A small number of people, and the people affected are basically...
Okay, so he doesn't care about how many... You hurt the king's double nephew. Oh, I don't... that's too much. Shut down civilization if we hurt the... If we force the king's second nephew to actually get a job. Oh, that's insufferable. That's such a horrible burglar man came and did this horrible thing. What a gulag. We forced the rich to earn it. We forced the rich to actually go to these prestigious educational institutions and actually take their education and do work with it instead of going to the golf course with their Harvard shirt and their Harvard pins. Right? So they take the most expensive education in the world and they don't use it to do anything but unhook girls' bra straps. And you're proud of that. You're proud of what you're defending. A huge waste in human capital, a huge waste in fucking incentivized labor. Instead of building something great, we build monuments to wasteful rich. Trumpizes. Trumpisms. Gold-plated bullshit. You fucking cunt.
Yeah.
So and then he plays his commercials at the end of his videos. But what an asshole. So, fuck you. Yeah, fuck you. Alright, that's enough said. Too stupid. Too fucking stupid. And why is he this stupid? The question's got to be, you just gotta wonder, why would somebody be defending these poor people, these poor little privileged class who now are going to have to be like everybody else and earn it? Oh, what a horror. I mean, just an amazingly, why would he do that? And you have to just say, he must be on the take. He must be rationalizing it because that's how he exists. That's what he lives on. Must be. Because why would anybody who really went out there in the world and worked and earned it have respect for watching zillions of times more wealth be distributed for so fewer potatoes peeled. I mean, if I just went by how many potatoes I peeled, in my early days in the restaurant business, and you just say, you peeled 10,000 potatoes and, lost a certain amount of skin in the process, and you're seeing somebody else get all of this reward, and they didn't peel potato one. They just looked at the potato and said, ooh, it's dirty. And that's the system he's defending, this fucking cunt. Get what you deserve, asswipe. Get what Robespierre probably did in the end deserve. I mean, he did seem to spend an awful lot of money on clothes. So frankly, right after a big whole revolution and everything, that's probably going to earn you some no votes. When it comes to, should we or shouldn't we cut his head off? Well, that's a head looks worthy of getting cut off. So anyway, fuck you.